Hey guys. Yeah, I know. Just testing out this stream, it's my first one so far. I just want to see if it was working. So far, it looks like it is, which is good. Also, yeah, I was reading an article earlier. And hold on one sec. Where's this? Okay, live. So there's the chat. Hey, Jesus. Hey, Tracy. Yeah, I know. The title is pretty good. Oh, there's 7 people. Yeah, but I was reading this article earlier today, or actually it was yesterday. I came upon it. You guys might have seen it. It's from the New York Times. It's called "White Women Come Get Your People," and I don't understand how white women still vote for the Democratic Party, considering all of the negative propaganda that's constantly being like directed towards them. It's always it's white women's fault that Donald Trump got elected. It's white women standing behind white men. And it's like, how do you still vote for the Democratic Party after that? I truly, I don't understand it. You have to be a major cuck or something. That is the only explanation. Yeah, no, obviously, no, not all of you, which is why they're mad, right? They're mad that 53% of women are voting for Donald Trump. And now they're mad that some women confirmed Brett Kavanaugh. And now they're like coming out with a piece, blaming them, trying to shame them. But this is just going to have the opposite effect, in my opinion. Like, if you have 2 brain cells to rub together and you're reading this bullshit, you're just going to be like, well, fuck you then. I'm not going to vote for the Democratic Party if you're going to treat me like this. I like to be on the side of the good. Yeah, exactly. Right. Anti-feminist. But, that right now the leftists, they're trying their very best to pit men and women against each other, specifically white men against white women, because this is why it's really important for people to get married, because when women do tend to vote with their husband. And, this is why the left usually does promote people to not be married, and they promote, single parenthood and stuff. And they pay you to stay in the home. They pay you to be a single parent, because generally they are going to vote for bigger government and for the left. But I'll read the piece, which is pretty ridiculous. After a confirmation process where women all but slit their wrist, letting their stories of sexual trauma run like rivers of blood through the Capitol, the Senate still voted to confirm Judge Brett Kavanaugh to the Supreme Court, with the exception of Senator Lisa Murkowski of Alaska. All the women in the Republican conference caved, including Senator Suzanne Collins of Maine, who held out until the end. And she goes on, she's like, these women are our gender traitors. It's like, gender traitors, like that. You don't have race traitors. And the person who wrote this was Alexis Grenell. I don't know. She's from some French girl, I guess. These women are gender traitors, to borrow the term from the dystopian TV series, The Handmaid's Tale. They have made standing by the patriarchy a full-time job. The women who support them show up at the Capitol wearing Women for Kavanaugh t-shirts, but also probably tell their daughters to put on less revealing clothes when they go out. It's I don't know what the point of that is. It's like, yeah, we support Brett Kavanaugh, but she's telling her kids to dress modestly. Yeah, sure. What is the problem with that? It's like that is just to be respectful, to be a respectful woman, not like a whore walking around, dressed like a fucking whore. There's nothing wrong with that. And just because the mother asked them to dress like that, That doesn't mean that they think men are going to rape them if they are not dressed modestly. This is not a Muslim country. We don't have to dress up in hijabs typically to prevent women from being sexually assaulted. Most women can walk through the streets in Canada and America completely naked and not have a fucking problem. So, this is a bullshit premise to begin with. I am white and I want no woman. I am here to claim my people. Hey, Booberly, let the minorities crawl around like bugs. Well, not all minorities are bad. Hive mind, you have it. No one other than women hate men and want to be. Yeah, exactly. They just, I don't know what is wrong. I think most feminists are just. Yeah, you do need a wrench. But I don't know. Yeah, most feminists, I guess, they're just not happy. They've been taught not to be happy and to resent men and to believe that the only way to get up on men is to, use the government essentially to make laws to steal their money, to promote them up, in employment, because otherwise men are so fucking sexist that they're not going to hire you because, they just hate women. But the piece goes on, Handmaid's Tale, they made standing by the patriarchy a full-time job. The women who support them show up at the Capitol, blah, blah. Oh, sorry, I read that already. They're more sympathetic to Senator Orrin Hatch of Utah, who actually shooed away a crowd of women and told them to grow up. Or Senator Lindsey Graham of South Carolina, whose response, whatever, they're just trying to say they don't give a shit about women. These are the kind of women who think that being falsely accused of rape is almost as bad as being raped. Yeah, it is. What is that really? A ridiculous statement. Having your life ruined, potentially going to jail, isn't as bad as being raped, but nobody was raped in this situation. So the only victim is the person that is being falsely accused. But they're like, the only reason they don't care is because they're like, white men have privilege and they've been taking advantage of everybody else. And we don't care if they're falsely accused because they've done bad things in history and they deserve everything that happens to them right now. But, it's just hatred. They just really fucking hate white men. The white male, yes, we must be eradicated. Everyone needs a bad guy to hate. Yeah. Don't know. But yeah, this piece goes on. These are the kind of women who think that being falsely accused, which it is, the kind of women who agree with President Trump that it's a very scary time for young men in America, which he said during the news conference on Tuesday. And I don't know why that is a ridiculous statement. Like, that is definitely true, but nobody wants to admit that. They just want to admit that we have it so easy. There's no problem for white men whatsoever. We're not being demonized. We're not being systematically attacked, or demonized by the media, the government. It is, and he didn't even say white men. He just said young men, and it's true because there is no, what do you call it? What is that thing where, where they, you go in court and you get, you get your voice heard. I can't think of the word right now, but you know what I mean. Do justice or some bullshit like that. Somebody in the chat can say it right now so I can remember. But nonetheless, it's like right now, if a woman accuses you of rape, you got to automatically believe her. And if you don't, you're a piece of shit, sexist monster, which is due diligence, right? Or I don't know if it's due diligence. No, it's not that. It's due process. Where everybody gets to be heard before you're automatically accused or assumed guilty, right? I don't know. I can't remember it, but whatever, it goes on. But the people who scare me the most are the mothers, sister, and wives of those young men, because my stupid uterus still holds out some insane hope of solidarity. And there's no women should not be in solidarity. Men should not be in solidarity with one another. We should all be in solidarity with each other as, just people. It's like, but once again, leftists, we need to be standard united. Women all need to agree, and we all need to vote Democrat, because if you don't, you're a horrible bitch, and you support the patriarchy that suppresses you and oppresses minorities specifically. Create a movie. Yeah, due process. Yeah, that is the one. Yeah, due process. So, that just doesn't exist anymore. It's like, we shouldn't have due process, especially when it has to do with Republicans. When it's Democrats, no. Well, Bill Clinton, well, those allegations aren't proven, so we can't really believe that. Oh, Trudeau, they admitted that happened, but they're like, oh, she doesn't want to be talked to anymore, so let's just ignore the situation, pretend it didn't ever happen, and move on. Whereas we know if it was Republican, they'd be like, oh, it doesn't matter if they want to go away. We need to string them up and hang them, and make sure that they're never in politics ever again. And then we're talking about, and then there we go. Here comes, the racism. But this is a white woman doing this, and she's just trying to get like brownie points and, hate, self-hatred, and that way everybody think, well, I'm cool and stuff. But what white women like this don't realize is, like, man, you're next. Like, you can say all this stuff all you want, but a lot of the people aren't buying it anyways. They're just looking at you and they're like, oh, she's just a white feminist saying this stuff to try to pander to us. Well, really, they're just as bad as the white men. It's like, you hear what black feminists say about white feminists. They think you're just as bad. So, keep trying to do this. It's not going to pay off for you. But we're talking about white women, the same 53% who put their racial privilege ahead of their second-class gender status in 2016 by voting to uphold a system that values only their whiteness, just as they have for decades. Since 1952, white women have broken for Democratic presidential candidates only twice, in 1964 and 1996 elections, according to analysis by Jane June, a political scientist at the University of South Carolina. So they're like, oh, only twice they voted for Democrats. So that means, or in a majority, right? Whereas there's still always women voting for Democrat, but still they're going to lump all of them together and say, oh, well, you're all bad because you all vote because 50% of you or 52% of you vote Republican. So you're all terrible. You all need to be shamed. And, the left thinks this is a good strategy to actually get people on their side, which I don't see how it is. People, they're just going to be alienated from this over time. I know I would be. I know that's one of the main reasons why I am more alienated from the left nowadays, because you see how much they hate white people. Like, open your fucking eyes. If you cannot see this, then you're an idiot, or you're just refusing to see it. But, trust me, they do not like you, and you are the enemy. And as you can see from pieces like this, they're pretty much threatening you. It's like, oh, if you don't toe the line, we're going to keep writing pieces about you, shaming you, blaming everything that's wrong about society on you because you keep voting for Trump or the right or white men or some bullshit. And then talking about white women, women of color, and specifically black women. So this is a white woman. See, she's pandering. She's trying to be one of those white saviors. Make the margin of difference for Democrats. The voting pattern of white women and white men mirror each other much more closely, and they tend to cast their ballots for Republicans. The gender gap in politics is really the color line. So, now she's just bringing in race to make this about race now. And it doesn't have to do really anything with it, but she's just going to be like, oh, well, thank God for black women and minorities for voting Democrat, because otherwise our country would just go to shit, which is not true. That's because white women benefit from patriarchy by trading on their whiteness to monopolize resources for mutual gain. It's like, what does this even mean? White women benefit from by trading on their whiteness. Like, what does whiteness mean? Like, could we say blackness? Is that a thing? Can I say black people are benefiting on their blackness and their black anger and their black? Everybody be like, you're a racist motherfucker. Why are you saying shit like this? It's like, this makes no sense. It's like they're trading in their gender for whiteness. It's like, what? The voting pattern, white women mirror each other. In return, they're placed on a pedestal to be cherished and revered. It's like, that is not true. As Speaker Paul D. Ryan has said about women, but all the while denied basic rights. What basic rights? What rights are women denied of men? Women have more rights than men. They're talking about abortion or something, right? It's like, shut the fuck up about this already, okay? Nobody is gonna go back and change Roe v. Wade or anything like that right away anyways. Like, just fucking relax about it. And it's like, they think, oh, I'm a woman, I have the right whatsoever. Like, a woman has the right to abort a baby. And don't necessarily agree with that. I think that we can have a discussion about when it is more feasible to do it, but in Canada you can do it pretty fucking late. And if you believe that fetus is definitely alive and is a human, then you should probably have a say on whether that person can or cannot have the child, because it's like, especially 3 months, 4 months, even earlier, it's like that it's no longer just a part of you, which a lot of women do say. They're like, well, it's me, it's in my body, I can do what I want with it. But it's like, yeah, it is in your body, but it is also kind of separate, and it is now becoming its own person, right? And maybe earlier pregnancies and when it comes to rape and whatever, people always bring that up. Sure, you could probably do something then, but that it's not necessarily good for society, I think, generally. And it's like we have a massive birth rate problem right now anyways, and in response we're importing people from the third world. So it's the best thing that we can do is just to remove the incentives for poor people and stupid people to have a bunch of kids, to have kids out of wedlock into wetlock, right? Like, it's better to have more preventative measures and then deal with abortion a case by case measure. But this is what they're always talking about, women's rights, and it's like that's a more debatable thing, the abortion issue, because like I said, it does involve another life or whatever you consider it, right? So it becomes a slightly different issue. So it's like but they're trying to make it like it's only that's your 100% right, and they're trying to take that from you, and it's so horrible. But really it's not what they're making out to be. And also, a lot of women are against abortion too. So it's not like just men who are trying to hold you down. A lot of it is women and stuff too that are also against it, but they're going to frame it like, oh, it's only men that think this. That's because white women benefit from the patriarchy by trading on their whiteness. Oh my God, to monopolize resources for mutual gain. What resources are they gaining from this? I don't know. In return, they're placed on a pedestal to be cherished and revered. I guess they're talking about the media or something. I don't know. This elevated position over women of color comes at a cost, though. Consider what Kellyanne Conway, a top advisor to the president, said at a dinner last year for New York Conservative Party. She suggested that higher birth rates are how I think we fight these demographic wars moving forward. Yeah, thank you, Kellyanne Conway. That is exactly how we fight this. But you can tell the author is a bad thing to her. Like, oh, white people not becoming a minority anymore. Oh, that's so horrible. You don't want that to happen. You don't want to be demographically replaced by people, by different cultures. You're terrible. You're a horrible, horrible human being. Where that is bullshit. Okay. Like, no person, no country, no people want to be replaced. Okay. Even with the arguments people were bringing, they're like, for Brexit the other day, I remember from The Economist, they're like, oh, look at immigrants. They add $3,000 more a year or a month or something to the federal budget because they pay more in taxes, all this shit. So, we need immigrants. We need to bring them over, which that is probably bullshit. I'm sure they're not taking into consideration a lot of the tax money that they are using when they come into the country. And it's a lot of these studies are bullshit to begin with. But even if that were the case, and they were just way better producers than us, that's still not a reason to bring them in and replace us. At one point in history, has that ever been like a certain tribe's idea? They're like, wow, that tribe's way better than us down the road. What we should be doing is importing them and let them take us over and replace us. It's like, no, they're not going to do that. They're going to fight. They're going to stop that other tribe from coming in and taking their women, even if they are inferior to that other tribe, right? So it's basic human nature to not want to be demographically replaced, but the leftist media tries to make it seem like, they're against immigration, they're against being replaced, they're against becoming a minority. It's like, guess what? That's what everybody thinks. And the people who say that they don't, they're lying to themselves or they're completely deluded. One or the other. So the elevated positions she suggested is how we fight birth rates. The war, of course, is with non-white people. Yeah, it's not a war. I'm not saying a violent war, but yeah, I want white people to remain the fucking majority in Canada. And that's what I want. I'm not saying I'm against immigrants. I'm against people of color. I have plenty of people of color that are great people that I know, that are friends, that I've dated. It's not against that. It's about retaining a majority in the country. Nobody's against immigrants. Nobody's against non-white people. They're just against being displaced, which is something that most people probably should be worrying about right now, because it is happening as we speak, and it's only going to speed up, and it's only going to get worse if you don't speak up about it now. If you wait 10 years to be like, oh, well, now I'm going to say something, it's going to be too late by then, right? And the consequences are going to be much worse for you then than they are now for saying something, for doing something, for at least bringing this to people's awareness, to their consciousness. Because people, they don't pay attention to politics, they don't pay attention, they pay attention to their own life, to going to work, to their favorite TV shows, to playing the new video game that's coming out, and all this stuff is just happening without them really taking notice of it. But it's up to people like us, like you guys, to start and waking people up. Take up more resources. The left wants to stop population increase it at the same time. Yeah. There's Nova. It's like, if people want abortion to keep the birth rate down, why import people to take up more resources? The left wants to stop overpopulation and increase it at the same time. Yeah. So it makes no sense. A lot of what they say, they're like, oh, don't have kids because it's increasing pollution. But then, oh, you guys aren't having enough kids, we need to import a bunch of people. But then I've seen a lot of other articles that are like, oh, well, it's only Western people who need to have lower birth rates because of Western countries where they produce more carbon emissions. If you guys have less kids, it's going to be better for the whole world. And that is also bullshit, because, Canada is extremely carbon neutral. A lot of other countries that are Western. And, and mainly it is third world countries that are polluting. You can't say anything about it because they're like, well, you had your chance, let us pollute. and it's you polluted for years and hundreds of years, now we're polluting and you're getting mad at us. It's like, okay, yeah, I think you should have the right to develop your energy resources, but stop throwing plastic into the ocean. Like, this is being caused by like China. This is being caused by a lot of other third world countries, not being caused by our countries. Okay, so we're not the ones throwing fucking heaps of plastic into the ocean. Like, I can't remember what continent it was on, but there was a big ocean of garbage being like for miles and miles, and it's like that was off of some third world country, and it's like off the coast of some third world country, and it's like that's not Canada. That's just not happening here. We do take care of our country. Like, somebody will litter, somebody else will pick that up and like throw it at you, right? So it's like we take care of our shit, but other countries aren't. But we're gonna ruin our industries here. We're gonna ruin everything here with regulations, and then we're just gonna get all of our shit from China, where they have even worse regulations and worse human rights records, and we're just gonna buy it from here, out of sight, out of mind type thing. But the elevated position is with non-white people. So it seems that white women are expected to support the patriarchy by marrying within their racial group, reproducing whiteness, and even minimizing violence against their own bodies. So they're almost acting like they're being forced into this. Like, well, white women, they have to marry white men, and they have to keep this whiteness progressing. Otherwise, they're going to be harmed. They're going to be, attacked, and they're doing this for their own self-preservation. So you see, they're putting in there, they're shaming them, but at the same time, they're kind of giving them a way out. They're like, oh, well, it's not your fault. The men, they're making your life so hard, and they're gonna beat you and all this shit if you don't comply, if you don't toe the party line, where that is bullshit. And this whole thing in the article, were like, oh, well, they're doing it, they're trading in their this for these other privileges, they're trading in their gender things for these other privileges that they get. But it's like, and they're doing this because they don't want to be attacked by men. But it's like, this is all projection too, because if you look at Taylor Swift, she came out just recently and she's like, oh, I support the Democratic Party. And for years before that, they were like, oh, white Taylor Swift, she's a white woman, she's pandering to the Republican, she never speaks about her political affiliation, she's this, she's that, shaming her, doing exactly what this girl is saying that white men are doing to white women. And then when she comes around, then they're like, oh, you heap praise on her. Oh, you're so great. Kanye West, who we loved in the past, is actually a big piece of shit. And it was actually, oh, Taylor Swift. Oh, no, she is great. She is amazing. Oh, I'm so glad she spoke out for the Democratic Party, all this stuff. But it's like, she's an idiot. It's like, did you not read? Are you completely insulated? Did you not understand that the Democrats fucking hate you, and you're the next scapegoat? Once white men are out of the picture, you're next. So be aware of that. But whiteness, and even minimize violence against their own bodies. It's like, how bad are fucking white men? Are we really baiting women? It's not in our countries that assault of women is at its highest. It's the people that you're importing into our countries. It's the people from Muslim countries that have honor killings and beat their wives for this and do all this crazy shit. It's not us. We're not the ones doing this. Like the other day, it was I think in the UK, some guy got in shit or shame because he said that UK or whatever is one of the least racist countries in the world, or the least. Everybody's like, oh my God, how could you say that? That's insane. It's like, but it is. It's like, our countries are the least racist. Our countries are the safest. Our countries are the best for women. If it wasn't the case, none of you motherfuckers would be fleeing here in droves. None of you people would be suing to get into our countries. What the fuck are you talking about? Like, of course it's better. Of course we treat people better than you treat people. Like, we don't cut people's heads off in our countries because they're atheists. We don't fucking like throw stones at fucking women because they had sex before they fucking got married. Like, we don't do this shit. Okay? Like, yes, we have problems. Yes, assault does happen. Yes, battery against women does happen. And these are all bad things that need to be addressed and need to be talked about and need to be worked on, because nothing is perfect. But it's nowhere near as bad as it is from the countries that you are fucking fleeing from. But once again, yeah, this is a white woman saying this, but she's speaking on behalf of minorities, right? And that is another thing you got to understand too. It's like a lot of these articles that do kind of divide people are written by like white people, and a lot of them, you know, white Jewish people. If you do notice, look at all these, like Paul Krugman wrote something the other day. It was like, you know, white men are this and that. It's, you know, Jewish people like to flip flop. One minute they're white, the next minute they're not. They're only white whenever they're writing pieces about how terrible white people are, and then the next time they're like, no, we're not, or we're not. But you know, what was, I kind of got on a tangent there. Recently, Miss Conway even weaponized her own allegations, sexual assault in service to her boss by discouraging women from feeling empathy with Christine Blasey Ford or anger at Judge Kavanaugh. Yeah, why would you have sympathy for a liar? You know, like, why? She's look at, as soon as Kavanaugh got confirmed, she dropped her case. She dropped the charge. As she's like, oh, well, I'm not going to follow this anymore. Just like all the people that accused Trump all dropped their case as soon as he won the presidency. It's like, are you guys all fucking blind? Like, or you obviously see what is going on. You just don't care because you're like, well, you know, we want to ruin this guy's life and his reputation because we're not getting our way. And, you know, if this doesn't go away, then we're just going to shame everybody and call out white people and white women and call out white male privilege and just do more of this division to try to get minorities and women excited to go vote during the midterm. So, you know, this is why I don't like politics. Why I don't like democracies, because it's just dirty politics, right? And it's always going to be played this way because people want power. They're never going to stop playing these dirty politics as long as there is this big piece of gold or whatever for them to acquire, right? Like they're never going to stop. And it's going to happen from the right. You know, if the left calms down right now, eventually the right is going to, you know, be more authoritarian, and, you know, the left might, you know, there's going to be this constant pendulum swing, and this is never going to stop until we, you know, completely remove the government or have it very small that people don't want to take control of it. Or if they do, there's very little that they can do with it because of the way it is now. People, like, there's so much money, there's so much power, especially for the presidency of America. Like, that, you're the leader of the country at that point, right? Like, you have a lot of fucking power. So, you know, people, they want that, and they're going to do anything to acquire it. Anything. You know, it doesn't matter how shitty, how sleazy it is. They're going to do it. You know, they know, most people can see through this too. But they're just like, well, I want my party to win. And then they think like, well, the conservatives do stuff like this too. And the conservatives do stuff like this too. So two wrongs make a right. And let's not call this out because Trump lies all the time and all this bullshit. So they just justify it to themselves. And they're like, well, you know, yeah, I don't think he was convicted either, but, you know, who cares? You know, some people, he's white, he's a male, you know, he can go, he's privileged, he'll go find a job, he'll be okay. You know, he has all the power in society. So don't feel bad for him. It's not an issue. It's not a big deal. Worry about everybody else. But, you know, I don't know. So what's the chat up to? I wonder if it has any power. Is smoking too much liberal pot? How you guys been? It's never asked. 46. Nice. But Miss Conway knows that a woman who steps out of line may be ridiculed by the president himself. And it's like, no, this is projection. This is what the left does. They are the ones that ridicule you if you step out of line. Look at Kanye West now. He was a genius before. He was the greatest guy in the world. But now all of a sudden, oh, he's crazy. He's insane. He's clearly a lunatic. He's off his rocker just because he's come out in support of Trump. You know, it's like you have to be insane if you vote for somebody who wants to help the economy, who wants to fix things, considering how badly things have been going for the longest of times. You know, somebody who wants to fix the trade deals so then Americans and their jobs come back. But for years, a lot of people, especially the elitists and stuff, they just don't care. They're like, oh, well, you need to go back to school and you need to do this because, you know, you guys have been privileged and rich your whole life in America, and it's only your fault that you're poor now. And you guys should have thought of this before all your jobs were lost in NAFTA and all these fucking shitty trade deals that eventually gutted your country. Oh, you're privileged. Don't feel bad for you. You guys are terrible anyways. So, you know, go back to school and learn this. And you guys are all meth heads now, and this is what you deserve. Like, you know, this is what I hear people say all the time. There's no sympathy for each other, especially in America. Like, it's not as bad as that in Canada, but in America, there seems to be like just so much hatred and resentment, especially between rural people from the East and West Coast. Like there is just so much hatred and resentment towards each other. And, you know, that's why they're letting their country go to shit. That's why they're letting a lot of illegals come in, because they know it's hurting poor people. They know it's hurting poor white people. It's also hurting poor black people, but they just don't care because they're like, well, it's hurting them more. So we're just going to keep doing it. So it's just, you know, if people weren't so spiteful, weren't so resentful and hateful, we could like get past a lot of this shit. But, you know, the state, the government, the media uses, you know, our own biases and hatred against one another to pit each other against, you know, one another, right? And that's pretty much why a lot of women, single women and minorities do vote for the left, because they are convinced that, you know, a lot of them do think that the Democrats are shit too, but they think it's a better option than Republicans, because the Republicans, to them, think they think that they don't think they're human, that they want them dead, that they want all the immigrants out. And of course they think this because look at BC. Remember that story I did just the other day where in BC they had a curriculum where they're asking Republicans or the difference between what on the left and the right. And they're like, who is racist? And the teacher's answer was somebody who's on the right. And it's like, who likes to give to charity? Or somebody on the left. Who likes to beat people with a strap? It's like person on the right. So it's like early on, people are taught in school, at home, that conservatives are racist, that they are, they want to use the government to kill you if you step out of line. They want a police state, all this stuff, when in reality that right now is coming from the left. They are the ones who want to use Google, the internet, to silence thoughts that they do not like. They are the ones who want to take guns from innocent civilians and only let the government have weapons. Like these are the people that want a police state. These are the people that want to silence voices, that they don't like to be heard. But, I'll keep going on with the story. Miss Kanye, she's like out of line, maybe ridiculed by the president himself. It's like, oh my God. President Trump mocked Dr. Blaisley in front of a cheering crowd on Tuesday evening. Betray the patriarchy and your whiteness won't save you. So it's like, so she's like saying, so see, look, he made fun of that white woman, even though she was white. because she didn't stand up and she didn't say Kavanaugh wasn't a rapist. See, your whiteness won't protect you. It's like Trump would have said that regardless of her race. But of course, she's got to insert that in there where it had absolutely nothing to do with it. Race has nothing to do with this case, but somehow the New York Times and this bitch can just like insert it in there and be like, well, this is actually about racial differences and voting and how white women don't vote for the Democrats ever. It's all their fault. You know, it's like, oh my fucking Lord. Like, see all the women in Senate who voted for this? You see what color they were? Yeah, they're white. That tells you everything you need to know. She goes on, the pedestal is a superior, if precarious, place for white women. It's apparently better than being stronger together. With the 94% of black women, 86% of Latinas who voted for Hillary Clinton. It's like, that's not something good. Honestly, that's not something good you want to say like, wow, we all vote together and we all think exactly the same, right? We all do exactly the same thing, even though it's not going to benefit us. Like, the Democrats have you by the balls when they know you're going to vote for them no matter what. You understand that means that they're never going to do anything for you because they know like you get that, right? They have your vote. And people they in America, they complain a lot about redlining what conservatives do to black people in the South and stuff, which is true. They make it very hard for people in like certain black communities to vote. They kind of tamper with the voting days, and they say, oh, it's actually on the 2nd when it's on the 3rd, and they have the polls only open for an hour, whereas in a lot of whiter areas, it's more normal. And they do this, but the only reason they do this is because they know black people and Latinos vote specifically for Democrats. So if and like I said before, politics is dirty. People are always going to do dirty shit to win. So yeah, of course they're going to fuck with the polls if they can. Of course they're going to make it harder for you because they know you are all going to vote Democrats. So it's an easy strategy to get the votes, right? But if you guys didn't vote 100% for Democrats, then that strategy would not work because they would be like, oh, well, if 60% of maybe 60% of the time they voted for Republicans, that would be foolish for them to fuck with it then because they could screw up their chances of winning. But because they all vote in unison, that means it's very easy to take advantage of. It's very easy, for the left to just continue doing what they want to do to never improve your communities because, you're never going to vote for anybody different. They have no incentive. And when people have no incentive to do anything different, they're going to keep doing what they're doing, So you got to understand that people only really work off of incentive in life. During the 2016 presidential election, did white women really vote with their whiteness in mind? Lori Fracture York-Lee, a political scientist, UCLA, recently measured the effect of racial identity on white women's willingness to support Trump in 2016 and found a positive and statistically significant relationship. So white women who voted for him did so to prop up their whiteness. It's like, what is whiteness? What is propping up whiteness? And this is what I hate too. They're always like, oh, we're not talking about white people. We're talking about the construct of whiteness. And it's like, no, you're not. You're talking about white people. You even said it earlier on. You didn't like white people, or you didn't think it was good that white women were forced to breed with white men because it was just propagating whiteness. It's like, you can't disassociate whiteness from me, whatever the fuck whiteness is. That it's a bullshit made up term just to mask the true intentions of trying to, completely destroy white people. Like that is really what it is. It's maybe some of them are gullible and stupid enough to actually think this is what they're like. Oh no, we're actually just attacking whiteness. It's like, no, you're attacking white people. because, you know, clearly, like, we can't separate ourselves from whatever the fuck you have invented, because there is no blackness. You know, some people will say that, but I can't say that about anybody else. There's no brownness, there's no yellowness. You know, like, what is this bullshit? You know, it is not sensical. But you know, but yeah, I just want to read that again. Recently measured the effect of racial identity on white women's willingness to support Trump in 2016. Effect of racial identity on white women's, and found a positive and statistically significant relationship. So I don't know what they studied, what they looked into. So white women who voted, like, okay, does whiteness to them mean a majority white country? Does that what it means? Because yeah, if that is true, if they voted for Trump because they wanted to remain a majority, is that a bad thing? I don't think it is. Why is it a bad thing? It's not a bad thing. Whenever you question people about this, and you really be like, is it okay? Do you want to be a minority in your own country? People will often be like, no, I don't think I would want to be. You know, like, people can understand why it's a big deal, why we would vote for Trump, even if it was for racial reasons, right? Like, that's not even, whereas, you know, they're trying to frame it like that is the only reason people voted for Trump. But I think that is a part of the reason, definitely. But a lot of it had to do with the economy. A lot of it had to do with the trade deals. A lot of it had to do with a lot of the recovery and a lot of the money only going to, you know, liberal cities. And the people in the middle of America and everybody were getting hollowed out and fucked, especially by these trade deals, be these free fucking trade deals. You know, it's like that the government just names shit to confuse the average person. These trade deals are not free, not whatsoever. You know, they're just you know, there's just slightly more free trade sometimes, but then they also usually add a bunch of things in there to make it easier for corporations to sue governments and in countries. And, you know, it's oftentimes you don't need these huge elaborate things to just do free trade with a country. You oftentimes don't need that. But, you know, I lost my footing here again during the 2016 presidential election. But yeah, like I was saying, it's not a big deal or it should be okay if people want to only vote for Trump because he is going to reduce immigration. You know, look at Quebec and the CAQ. They won because of their platform of reducing immigration by 20%. And that is every person's right to want to do. Immigration is supposed to benefit the people of the country they're coming into. We're not here to benefit the rest of the world. We are not the basket, the bread basket for everybody just to take out of. You know, it is a privilege to come to Canada, to America, and you should feel grateful and lucky coming to this country. And if we want to keep it whiteness, want to keep our whiteness in a majority country, then that is our right. Just like it's your right to keep your countries the way you want to keep them, right? It's all of our rights. But you know, they always try to make it seem like it's a horrible thing. And the study, white women who agreed that many women interpret innocent remarks or acts as sexist were 17% more likely to vote for a Republican candidate. They were also likely to agree that blacks should work their way up without special favors. To be sure, women of color aren't inherently less sexist or even without their own racial biases, but unlike white women, they can't use race privilege to their advantage. So, you know, at least they admit that, black women and other minority women can also be racist or sexist, but they're like, oh, but they can't use it to their advantage. So power plus prejudice, right? It's like, oh, but white women, they can use their racism to garner a preferable position in hierarchy, and then they won't be attacked by white men, and they'll be lionized and idolized in the public sphere, right? It's like, who runs the media? It's not white men, okay? It's it's majority like Jewish dudes. They're the ones running the media. And the same thing with like, fashion. I hate this bullshit with women. They're always like, oh, you want us to be thin and anorexic and look at the fashion models and all this stuff. It's like, it's not straight men. Straight men do not watch fashion models. Nobody watches that shit. It's gay men and women who watch that crap. It's gay men and women who set the beauty standards for a lot of shit. It has nothing to do with us. Look at the beauty standards right now. It's like Kim Kardashian. That is what it is now. It's not us setting it. Okay, it's also oftentimes the culture at large is setting it, and other groups, and like I said, in the fashion industry, it's a bunch of gay people and women. They're the ones who are watching that shit. They're the ones. It's not us. We're not the ones, saying, oh, white is the most beautiful thing ever, and white is good, white is right. That is not going on. In the study, white women who agreed. But unlike white women, they can't use their racial privilege. This blood pact between white men and white women is at issue in the November midterms. President Trump knows it. And at that Tuesday news conference, he signaled to white women to hold the line. The people that have complained to me about what's happening are women. Women are very angry, he said. I have men that don't like it, but I have women that are incensed at what's going on. I'm sure he does have them. Game girls will defend their privilege to the death. But apparently that doesn't include Mrs. Murkowski anymore. Maybe it's because she comes from a state with the nation's highest rate of sexual violence. So what is she saying right here? That Murkowski is supporting Trump because the state that she's coming from has 3 times higher rates of sexual violence. So what is she saying? She's saying that the Murkowski is afraid for her life in being sexually assaulted because of all these sexual assault that is going on in her state, that this is clearly why she voted for her. It's like, no, that's not why, okay? It's like, this is complete fucking bullshit. It's like, oh, she was afraid for her life. With a sexual assault rate 3 times the national average, where prosecutors just let a man evade jail time after he kidnapped a native Alaskan woman and strangled her unconscious, then masturbated over her body. Maybe. So yeah, it's like in the state of Alaska, some guy, stole some native Alaskan woman and strangled her, which was horrible. But, it's like they bring up this thing. You're like, yeah, in that state, they bring up one example of somebody. It's like, you could bring up plenty of worse examples, I'm sure, in like any other state than somebody doing that, an actual violent rape. But they're like, no, I'm gonna grab this where somebody strangled somebody unconscious and then jizzed all over them. Like, what the fuck? Like, Jesus fucking Christ. Meanwhile, Senator Colton subjected us to a slow funeral dirge about due process. See, like, look at how they treat due process, in the same way they talk about free speech. They're like, freedom of speech, it's like an old concept, blah, blah, blah. We're in a new age type thing. And they're like, oh, this, what does she say? This, to a slow funeral dirge about due process and some other nonsense I couldn't even hear through my rage headache as she announced on Friday she would vote for Kavanaugh. Her mostly male colleagues applauded. But it's like, okay, funeral dirge of process and some other nonsense. Yeah, so it's like, oh, due process. Who cares? Like, who cares about due process? Nobody gives a shit about that. It's like, no, this is a big deal. This is a big fucking deal. It's not schmooze. Who cares about due process? No, that is something that our civilization has a cornerstone on. It is built upon. We're not just going to get rid of it and be like these fucking kangaroo courts in the third world countries. Right? We don't want to be like that. I know you want to make us like that, but we don't want to be like that. And, they only care about due process when it is towards a leftist, a liberal, but obviously when it comes to their side, they're like, oh, due process. But when it's Republican, oh no, he's clearly guilty. Let's just get a bunch of women to accuse him at once. And then by numbers, people will be like, well, 5 women accused him. One of them must have abused at least one of them. But that this is a propaganda tactic. A lot of the times, no, just because 10 women come out and accuse somebody doesn't mean that they did anything. It's not that hard for people to work together, to coordinate, to be paid to come out and make these accusations. And this is why women who make false accusations should be put away in jail for fucking years. Like that it should not be tolerated. You should be put in jail. If you accuse a man of rape, however long that he was going to get for that rape sentence, you should get in prison. And then we're going to see a lot less false rape accusations. Now, I guess maybe there could be some problems where maybe you just can't prove it and the rape did happen. Whereas I think, okay, we shouldn't put women away for that. But I guess, yeah, it gets kind of tricky now that you think about it. But still, that should be, if we can definitely prove that you lied, that you conspired, right? And that you have text messages with other people say, yeah, we're going to falsely accuse him or all this crap, then yeah, you should go to prison for a long fucking time. But oftentimes it's a slap on the wrist. These dumb fucking bitches are coming out on Twitter and all this shit, accusing people on social media instead of bringing this stuff to the fucking police 30, 40 fucking years later, right? And whereas Trudeau, his case, the girl came out immediately. It's written in the paper. He admits to all this shit, but, let's just ignore it. None of this happened. It didn't exist. She wants to go away. She doesn't want to talk. Let's leave her in a peace. And the conservatives are meanies because they want to bring her and have her speak about it. Oh man, leave this poor woman alone. Now somehow the conservatives are the bad guys for trying to hold Trudeau accountable for the things that he holds his own MPs accountable for, where they like look at a woman wrong and then all of a sudden they have to be fired, right? And this is what is happening right now. It's like this whole MeToo movement is just to divide men and women. It's like men, and this is going to make women not hired in fields anymore because men are just too afraid. They're going to be like, fuck this. It's too risky hiring you. And you could potentially think that I'm trying to fuck you or something and say I put you in a weird position, and you're going to accuse me on Twitter, and then it's going to ruin my life. No, I'm just going to hire men from now on. So, this is not going to be good for anybody. This whole bullshit Me Too thing. It's, yes, women do get assaulted, and there is a problem with that, and we need to deal with people who do assault women. And there are a lot of scumbags and shit, and guys that mistreat chicks. But to a large extent, a lot of these women coming out, especially in Hollywood, are just whores. They're people that, willingly sucked fucking Harvey Weinstein's dick. Like, they're like, they like Alyssa Milano, like she's the biggest whore in fucking Hollywood. She fucked her way up to Hollywood. Same with a lot of these other fucking that other girl that went insane and shaved her head, like Alyssa McGowan and all these crazy women. They're all whores. They all willingly did this shit, the majority of them. And some of the only victims are the men when it comes to this. Like, the young boys that were assaulted by like Kevin Spacey, and that one guy that was assaulted, or that 17-year-old that slept with that Anna girl, that Anthony Bourdain's fucking girlfriend, that was a whore as well, and that cheated on him and stuff. This guy, he went to Italy, and they had a panel in Italy when they had that 17-year-old kid, and people, they were grilling him. They're like, well, you don't look like you were assaulted. You don't look like that. It doesn't look like she raped you, all this stuff, right? Whereas, yeah, probably not, 17, but still, like, you see the way it's treated differently. It's like, oh, there's no sympathy for the men. whenever they get assaulted, whenever they get abused. It's like, and all the time we see so much of this. Every week I see a teacher fucks student, every other week. And they never frame it like teacher rapes student. It's teacher sleeps with 14-year-old student. It's like, no, that is still a rape, right? Like, it's still a fucking rape. And but they get off. I remember reading another article a while ago where this guy, he was saying that, oh, we need to we can't put women in prison for this because oftentimes they were just vulnerable and they felt like this or that, and they're taken advantage of, and we can't do this to women. It's like, are you fucking kidding me? We got to stop having these goddamn double standards. But at the same time, women, oh, we want to be equal, but they have all these double standards. They have all these extra rights, but they want more rights on top of it now. But the question for white women in November is, meanwhile, Senator Collins subjected, I'll just keep reading a bit of the article, it's pretty much done. Senator Collins subjected us to the slow funeral dirge, blah, 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 her mostly male colleagues. The question for white women in November is, which one of these two women are you? I fear we already know the answer. So, hey, white women, you better vote Democrat in the midterms. Otherwise, you're horrible and you need to die or some shit, right? I don't know. It's bullshit, though. Clearly, I still don't understand how white women generally do vote for the Democrats because of all this shit. Maybe they're just not really paying attention to the propaganda being directed towards them, but hopefully they do soon before it's too late, because this type of shit is just going to continue, and all it's doing is creating division. And it's some people are going to be reading that, and then they're going to be like, oh, white women are so bad, we need to do something about that. And it's just going to turn violent over time. And this is essentially what I think leftists statists do want. The more violent, the more unrest there is in society, the more power they are going to have, the more reason, the more we're fighting each other, the more they're going to be able to say, hey, well, we're going to protect you. We need to take away your guns, and we need to implement a police state to make sure you guys don't kill each other. We need to do this to make sure there's no racism towards this group. So, it's, they want this. The more chaos there is, the better it is for them. But, I don't know. That's pretty much all I had to say. Thanks guys for watching. What are you guys saying in chat right now? I don't even know how to necessarily end this. Okay, end stream. What are you guys saying here? Tension, neocon. Okay. Lupa, Islam, only persuasion is tyranny and violence. Yeah, I agree. Driver. Level 1. So you guys got any questions? Yeah, thanks, man. Thanks, old white guy. It's my first stream so far, so I want to see how it worked. I was trying to get the video working yesterday for a little while because, I don't know, my camera was being used by something else and just, was not working. Oh, thanks, man. Thanks, Gun Cotton. 9 Bitcoins. Start a new Bitcoin. No new refugees. Heart of Gold. Yeah, I don't know. Not really too much. I haven't really checked the news too much. Do you guys see the Connor fight? Yeah, that goddamn Muslim won in that fight, though. It was unfortunate. But there'll probably be a rematch, I'm guessing. Super happy to see CAQ won in Quebec, though. Trying to kill Connor. Yeah, he was. I don't know. Like, it's It's that fucking country they're coming from, right? It's not the first time that Khabib has done stuff like this where his team has assaulted other people and shit. But you know, it's probably gonna, he might lose his title doing that shit. Oh yeah, that only Muslim allowed thing in Lindsay Sassour event. Yeah, I saw Faith Goldie's clip about that. I know that's bullshit. Like, how do people come to Canada and have the fucking balls, have the gall to host events and say, "Oh well, you're not allowed. Oh, you're not allowed. Well, it's open to everybody, but no, not you." It's like, are you fucking kidding me? It's like, we really got to start to take ownership of our own country and start to actually be mad when immigrants come to our country, are here for a short amount of time, and start to tell us how to fucking live, how to be, how to, you know, that's unacceptable. It's unacceptable. It's unacceptable in any fucking culture. I don't go to China and start telling them they need to create job programs to hire me and all this bullshit. I don't do that shit. So, you know, there is no way that I'm going to just sit around and do nothing while people say that in my own country. If I hear stuff like that from people, immigrants, I tell them to their face. I'd be like, are you fucking serious? I'm like, and I ask them like, how long have you been in this country? You know, like, no, that's not fair, and we should not feel scared or ashamed to stand firm on these things and to be mad that people, because they'll go, oh, well, he's a Canadian now. He's just as Canadian as you. It's like, no, if you've been living in this country for 2 years and you just became a Canadian citizen, you are not as much of a Canadian as me. Sorry. Even to the immigrants that I do like and they work hard and are great people and stuff, you're still not as much of a Canadian, and you should not feel that you have the right to do anything, to say anything, like, not to say anything. Yeah, if people are attacking you, if there's people assaulting you, you know, we don't want people doing that. But what I mean is coming out and like attacking white supremacy, especially in Canada. This is what really gets me. It's like all of the immigrants in Canada, other than the natives, come here voluntarily. So if you're going to come to a country voluntarily and then you're going to bitch, go fuck yourself. Are you insane? Like, really, I'm speechless when I hear that shit. It's like, how do you have the balls to fucking do this? You know, and it makes no sense. And today it's what? Indigenous People Day or some shit, right? It's like, okay, man, fuck Columbus. Why couldn't they have Columbus Day and then maybe an Indigenous People Day another day, right? No, we gotta just remove yours completely because Columbus didn't do anything really. He didn't open up trade routes that helped the creation of America. He didn't do all this shit. It's like, yeah, he did do a lot. Columbus did do a lot. And yes, the natives were here first, but they didn't fucking make anything. Like, that's what it really gets my goal to. It's, oh, the natives were here first. Like, but they didn't make anything. So it's not their country. You own what you create. And if you can create it and you can defend it, you own it. And they didn't own it. There's large areas of land that were depopulated, that were not being used for years and years and years, for hundreds of years, thousands of years. It's the same thing like in South Africa with large swaths of the land there. They'd be like, oh, you stole it, all this bullshit. But it's like, no, okay, we came in here, we worked the land, we created it, we created the country that you want to come in and live in and exploit, and you're gonna have the fucking gall to tell me, well, you didn't make this country, you didn't do this. Like, go away. Like, I can't deal with that fucking bullshit. I honestly can't. So what's up there? The only Faith Goldie look quiet. Okay, I don't understand this thing about Faith Goldie being a fucking like Jewish shill or some shit, right? I don't get it because, okay, yes, she has some ties to some Jewish group or something, but Which is it? Okay, is the Jews in control of all the media, and at the same time she's in with this Jewish group, but she doesn't have access to the media? So it's like, what is it? It's like, are all these Jewish groups promoting faith to talk about immigration and to bring that into consciousness and awareness that's something we desperately need? It's like what? I'm not saying you did necessarily anar core, but I've heard it from other people, right? And it's like, I don't get the whole, she's a Jewish shill, she's this. It's like, who cares if she if she knows Jewish people? Everything she is saying is helping us, is bringing attention to our problem. So I don't get this bullshit. I think it is a tactic from possibly the left. Maybe some of them are controlled opposition, because what I've noticed is that a lot of the people doing a lot of stuff, a lot of good, like Stefan Molyneux, Faith Goldie, a bunch of, they're all Jewish shills. They're all Jew conspiracy, all that. And it's like, but they're the ones constantly being silenced from the media. Is just some like 4D fucking chess move to get us to think they're being censored, so then we like them more and listen to them about speaking about IQ differences and fucking immigration and how it's not good and how we need to, essentially retain a majority. It makes no fucking sense. Makes no fucking sense. And that's why I don't buy a lot of that bullshit. And I'm not saying there is nothing to a lot of the Jewish shit, essentially, from the alt-right, because if you do look, all the media companies are owned by Jewish people, right? But it's still not, that still doesn't mean that if you know a Jewish person, you're a shill and you're this, and it's like, doesn't matter what you say, what you do, you're fighting for this, and it's like, oh, you support Israel, you're a horrible person, you're working for the Israeli state. It's like, no, lots of people support Israel for lots of different reasons. Like me personally, I don't support Israel because I don't like what they do in the world globally. Like, one of the reasons why Syria is still going on is because of Israel wanting to go into Syria. 80% of the oil that Israel gets is from Iraq. Is that a fucking coincidence? I don't know, right? Iran, they're constantly going in and killing Iranian scientists. They've been doing this since the fucking 80s. They steal American intelligence all the time and sell it to the Chinese. Israel is not a good fucking country either. Neither is Palestine. I'm not for Palestine either, but it's a very nuanced fucking issue, and it's not as simple as Israel bad, you support Israel, you're bad. It's just very simple bullshit, and it's really just to scare you away or try to get some people scared away from somebody who's actually doing something good for society, right? But that's more or less what I had to say about that whole Jewish thing about Faith Goldie. It's like, whatever, man. She is doing good. She's doing a good job. She's bringing awareness. And I don't see a lot of those people saying that are all on their keyboard. None of them are, they're all anonymous. None of them are doing anything at all. But they're gonna pick apart everybody. It's like, oh, you don't think this, and you don't believe this completely. They'll go for like Jordan Peterson. Frankly, yeah, he's not perfect, but you guys got to pick your fucking battles, okay? Pick your battles. There are some people that, like, I don't like Candace Owens. I think she is harmful because she just the shit that comes out of her mouth, it's bringing us back to, like, there's some good things she's saying, right? But she's just a fucking idiot. She just says the typical conservative fucking talking points, and some of them I just disagree with, and they're not, like, telling black people, saying get off the Democratic plantation. Like, that doesn't work. I'm just telling you guys now, telling black people to get off a plantation is not a good fucking strategy. Okay, like, saying some of this shit she is always bringing up. She's always talking about race. She's always talking about this and that, right? She's kind of bringing up identity politics and making it more of a thing within the right, which I don't really like. And I don't even like it when Trump comes out and says, like, look at all the stuff we're doing for black people, which is true, but that's still, we don't need to start doing that. And that just emboldens the left to continue doing what they do. And this is what people like Candace Owens do. But a lot of people that are being smeared, like, they're good. They're doing a good service for society. And a lot of these smears are just to get people not to trust them, you know, but a lot of it is just bullshit. Before the federal vote, BC out. Yeah. And thank God my province, or let me read this. The IDW and Millionaire is approved opposition promote. No, they're not. They are not control opposition. That Stefan Millionaire, man, I'm telling you, is not control. I don't care if he likes Jews or doesn't talk about Jews. That doesn't mean he's control opposition. Trust me, I've watched thousands, or not thousands, but hundreds of hours of Stefan Millionaire. I've listened to his call-in show, which I recommend you do. Man, this guy fucking helps people, man. Like, he really helps people and gets down to their core issue. Like, this guy, I don't know. He's had the most influence on me, and I don't understand how anybody could say he's control opposition. Granted, you know, he does have an ego and all this other shit, but he's not control opposition. That is insane. That's not true. It's not true with, what's her name? Faith Goldie. It's not true with Lauren Southern. It's not true. That's insane. It's insane. It's not true. Like, they are some of the only people waking people up to what the fuck is going on. So if you call that a control opposition, they're doing a really fucking bad job. They're doing a terrible job at control opposition, because they're actually having the complete reverse effect. Because what negative is coming out of what they are talking about, what they are doing right now, other than waking people up to what is going on? There is no negative that is happening to your life because of what Stefan, because of what Faith Goldie, because of what all these other people are doing. There's nothing bad happening to you because of that. If anything, they are pushing the Overton window, the stuff the alt-right always wants people to do. They are the ones pushing the Overton window on stuff like IQ. They are the one pushing it on stuff like immigration and, you know, all of this racism. I just don't get it. You know, maybe I'm missing something, but I really don't think I am. You know, I really don't. But you know, what was I talking about before? I was going to say something. Atheists are okay if they can LARP a religion. It's funnier. Yeah, well, I'm an atheist, if you didn't know that already. But I don't know. I've seen this one guy. I can't remember, some alt-right person. I don't know. What was he saying? That I think he was saying Christianity was actually bad for the alt-right, or was it atheism? I can't remember. You're an agnostic what? Agnostic atheist or an agnostic theist? I got in an argument about this with St. John Alc, and she was saying that you can't be an agnostic theist, and we're like, yeah, you can. These are two different words. You know, agnosticism and theism, or being a theist, means two different things. You know, so you know, you can be agnostic on whether chocolate is better than vanilla. You know, like it's something different. Because yeah, so I'm more of an atheist. Like, I just I'm not a strong atheist. I'm not an anti-theist. You know, I just don't believe. Right? I just have no evidence, so I choose not to believe. If I get evidence, then I'll believe. You know, but me personally, I just don't, because I have no reason to believe it. But that's not saying that it is wrong. And that's not saying that Christianity doesn't teach a lot of good values and doesn't have a lot of truth to it too, because it does, right? A lot of stories that you do hear, if you really think about it, almost like evolutionarily, you're like, oh yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Why they did this, why, as a man and a woman, and why they didn't promote polygamy, right? Like clearly these are hard fought lessons over thousands of years that they learned. Like, society works best when a man and a woman are together, and not a man and a man, and not a man with 10 fucking wives, because as we know, polygamy isn't that great. Look at Muslim countries. This is why there's so much violence. This is why this is probably why a lot of women in those countries do have to wear hijabs, do have to wear this shit, because there's polygamy going on. A good subset of men are not getting laid, and they're all fucking so sexually, enraged that they'll see some woman like a fucking ankle and they'll go and rape them right away. It's because there's like polygamy going on, and most men, there's not like a one man, one woman type thing. So it's not, necessarily good for society. It's going to create a lot of problems and lots of other things too. Even like the laws where it's like, oh, you can't eat pork in some religions, where, well, back in the day, it was a lot easier to get like trigonosis, and it was a lot easier to get diseases from poorly cooked pig. So it was smart to stay away from it in general, like kind of as a rule. Mostly it'd be fine, but as a rule, it had a higher chance. Same with shellfish. That is one of the things that can kill you like instantly. You eat a bad piece of shellfish, you could just die. Right. So it's, there are some reasons I think why but I don't believe in all of religion or anything like that, but I think there's definitely a lot we need to retain from it and keep, and we should not throw the baby out with the bathwater. And maybe I'm wrong entirely, and it is 100% true. I don't know. Time will tell, right? I got driver, freedom to think, and freedom to fail. Yes, I eat pork. I love pork. Honestly, pork is like my favorite meat, I think, because it's so delicious. Like, it's just by itself, you can cook like a pig, and it's got all the fat on it already, and it's like already like salty and stuff. Like, it's just good by itself. Like, you barely even need anything on pig, but like beef, chicken, you need to put stuff on that typically, but with because it's just bland otherwise. But with pork, ham, oh fuck, I love it, man. I don't understand how anybody cannot like bacon, not like ham. It's the best, oh man, meat burnt over a fire, like real. Yeah, exactly. I grew up in the country. I used to love going out in the woods, with my friends, and we'd like, I used to do this in the city too. Like when I moved to the city, we went, we would go, there's like a little kind of forest in Winnipeg, like in the city, some areas. We went in there, we built a fucking huge fort. We put a couch in there. We had a fire pit. We had a whole outside kind of structure with it, it was great, and we go there, we'd make food, we'd cook on the fire. Or, when I go to my dad's, who lives in the country, next time I go there, I'm going to try to take some videos for you guys so I can show you how it looks, because it's, extremely beautiful. St. Lazare watch view. It's probably one of the nicer places in Manitoba, considering, Manitoba is just fucking flat prairie lands, right? Not much to see, but there at least there's a nice valley. It's actually pretty beautiful. Yeah, I love bacon too. It's not good for you, but cooked well and done, it's perfect. I know it's not good for you, but I don't care. I don't give a shit. Chop's the best. My mom's Christian and it tastes good. The pork thing was before they didn't know how to detect worms in the meat. Halal is just money for imams to buy drugs. Yeah. Yeah, and I don't know if you guys heard about that thing in the hotel rooms or something. where they were like, whatever with goats, they were, what do you call it? Butchering goats in the fucking hotel rooms not too long ago. So, it's kind of fucked up. Hey, I can't read your name though. Linda. It's Linda. You have the funniest avatar on YouTube. I gotta be honest. Every time I see that, I laugh. And considering it's like a woman behind it too, it makes me laugh even more. Hey, Happy Fox. Guncoat. Old white guy. I'm not getting rid of my hat, old white guy. I'm gonna keep that. I'm gonna only buy Puma from now on because because you said that about my racist hat. You're welcome, mother. You're welcome, mother. Yeah, Linda's my mom. PPC new warning yet? What is that? IPPC? I don't know. What? Hey, underdog. Paris. She said Paris was not enough. Much be done and quickly. Are you talking about climate change? The Paris Agreement? Is that what you're talking about? Anarchor? I do nothing. What cured pork? Oh, I love pork. Sorry, I just have to say that again. Yeah, climate change. This whole Paris Agreement is just a massive redistribution of wealth. It's complete bullshit. And there's that study coming out a little while ago is saying, if we do nothing about climate change, like all these evil conservatives want, we're gonna be paying an extra $20 billion a year, for fixing up the economy and stuff. And I looked at it and they're like, by 2050, we're gonna be paying $20 billion a year, and that's 2050. That's 30 years ago. Do you really think people can predict 30 years from now? What? If they did, those people would be fucking millionaires, but they're not. They don't know what the fuck is going to happen in 30 years. They don't know the costs that are going to be involved. These are all fucking assumptions that they are making. And what really pisses me off is that fucking propaganda that's like, oh, don't worry, these carbon taxes, we're actually going to give you money back. You're going to get more money than you're giving, which is a lie, which is bullshit, in which they also do not tell you that imposing these carbon taxes are going to scare away businesses. So then you won't have the revenue that you expect you're going to have from taxing these businesses to give towards these people that you're promising to give towards. Like, yeah, oh, don't worry, they're all going to stay when we increase taxes on them. Don't worry, none of them are going to leave to go to America or to cheaper markets. No, don't worry. Don't worry. We're going to be like Venezuela if we listen to these fucking idiots. Like, no, we don't need, like I said, the majority of the fucking pollution is happening from other countries. It's stupid for us to waste our money and resources. Yes, let's not pollute. Let's not throw things in the ocean. Let's not put oil in the water. Let's not throw plastic everywhere. Yes, we can all agree on this. And this is why Pallister, the mayor or the premier of Manitoba, pulled out of the carbon plan, because even though he kind of like tried pandering to the left and he's like, oh, okay, we're going to do this, and that, Trudeau is like, no, it's not good enough. We're still going to implement this and make it go higher next year. And he's like, but I already have a plan to reduce, emissions, and I don't have to raise taxes, all this crap. He's like, no, we're going to impose this on you anyways. So, like, Trudeau is stupid. He's trying to push around his weight, but clearly that's not working. It's just alienating other provinces, and now they're all grouping together, and hopefully more people vote for conservative type governments in parliament or for their provinces, so then we could at least stand together against Trudeau for trying to implement this fucking bullshit, right? Like, do something about the border, you fucking cocksucker, instead of worrying about goddamn climate change and shit. It's like, you know what would reduce our footprint? Not importing 400,000 people a year into Canada, not letting in a bunch of fucking migrants or a bunch of illegal aliens cross the border into our country. That is going to reduce our carbon emission. You know what's going to reduce it? Not giving money to third world countries so they can just reproduce in the billions and then all consume carbon, right? How about, you know, we stop doing that, you know, and spend more of the money here at home. You know, it's just ridiculous, just bullshit, a big transfer of wealth, just another way to steal your money, and you need to wise up to it. But they're going to do the straw man. Oh, so you don't believe in climate change? Yes, I believe in climate change. The climate changes, of course. If you know anything about the history of the planet, you will know that the climate is vastly different than it was a million years ago, 2, 3, 5, 10, 20, 30, 50, a billion. The climate changes, okay? But it's all about how much it changes. It's about how much impact we have on the changes. It's about which countries are really the ones polluting. And there's a difference between pollution and putting carbon into the environment. Like, a lot of the problem right now is plastic in the ocean that, like I said, a lot of third world countries. Oh, thanks, man. Thanks, old white guy. Really appreciate that, man. You should have put 1488 though. Watch AJ and me. Happy Thanksgiving. Yeah. You mean happy Indigenous Day, you fucking racist. You racist bastard. It's Indigenous Day, and you got to know that we had nothing to do with this country, and they're the ones that really built it. You bastard. You know, old white guy. I don't even want his money. That racist. Thank you very much for the donation, though. I really appreciate that. I don't care if you're racist, you know. It's Indigenous Day. Please, guys, from now on. I don't like Christmas either. You have to say happy holidays. Otherwise, I'm just going to ignore you. Sorry. It's just the way I roll. I care about how much it costs, the pot people. This whole legalization of pot is bullshit too. Like, oh man, it's just going to make it so much harder for me to like get this shit. And like, you know, it's just an excuse to get more tax money. That's all it is. It's clear. Like, in my city, they're hiring a whole new task force of police just to find people who are smoking weed. And they're also giving away our data information, or Facebook and all these other social media companies are doing this, giving it to the police so they can then track you down and fucking like give you a fine. They won't throw you in jail. They're just going to, here, pay $600. Here, do this. Here, do that. When it's like, you know, there are so many other crimes. And it's like, this is the whole problem. Like, the whole point of us wanting to legalize weed was so we could use the police to actually focus on real crimes. But now they're like, okay, we need to increase the police force so then we could focus on stopping people smoking weed and driving and smoking weed in parks. It's like, no, use those people to stop the fucking crime that is going on, to stop these fucking, you know, people coming into our country and assaulting people, or just the average person, you know, like use it for this shit. Like, it's ridiculous that we're wasting our money trying to put people who smoke fucking pot away, or to try to give them a fine. You know, it is insane, and it shouldn't cost this much to legalize weed to begin with. It shouldn't cost this much. It should be way fucking cheaper. It's be like, oh, we need to spend $500 million doing all this research and all this shit. It's like, dude, you campaigned on legalizing it, and now, well, we gotta ask Canadians what they really think about this. Like, dude, you won. Legalize it, okay? And it's not. I much prefer if they just decriminalized it, because as we see, it's not going to be better. It's going to be worse. It seems like, you know, it's going to be even worse. And, you know, people are probably going to go away for longer because I don't know, if a little kid gets a hold of it or something, you know, the parent is going to be held accountable now or something, you know, like it's not going to be good. Just another tax grab to take our money. And it's almost, I would actually just leave it the way it is, because, you know, at least this money isn't going to the tax man, isn't going in their pockets so they could go and throw it down the river so they can waste it, because that is exactly what they're going to do with it. They're not going to use it to actually help you or help your life. No, they're going to waste it on some fucking program that's going to go to shit. That's only going to help specific groups of people, and so then they can get their vote. You know, that's all it's going to be used for. Whereas, you know, one of the only things that helped the American economy after the recession was illegal drugs, because this was the only thing that wasn't taxed, wasn't in control, wasn't being controlled by the government. Like there was a huge $1 trillion industry going on behind the scenes. And you think about it, like you could, like when I buy weed or some shit, I can spot from my dealer if I have no money, right? If I have no money this week, I have money next week, I can be like, hey man, can you borrow this to me and I can give you money next week? And they'll be like, yeah, sure. And that will keep the economy going. But in normal circumstances, like in a store, I can't go to 7-Eleven and be like, hey man, can I spot this bag of chips from you and pay you back next week when I get $3.50? No, they're not going to do that. But in the illegal market, that does happen. And, you know, this was able to keep a lot of money within the market, help the economy flourish after the recession. So it's like, it's almost better to keep this shit illegal, out of government greedy hands, because they're just going to create new programs that are going to cost even more money, because they say, oh, we got all this new money now. Look at all this new money we have. Look what we're going to do with this. But then that money isn't going to be there anymore. Just like all the carbon money that they say they're going to have. They're like, don't worry, you're going to get more money in return. Or all the extra money you're going to be spending at the pump and all this stuff. But it's like, what if those companies just leave? You don't no longer have that tax source to take from, right? And you're just going to fucking waste that extra money anyways on bullshit. And so it's really no point. And people are already starting to use less energy, already trying to move towards that direction. And oftentimes you don't need all these government incentives to do this. You know, like a lot of stuff like gay marriage in America too, you know, they bring this stuff to the Supreme Court, whereas a lot of the time society was already changing, was already starting to accept these things. And it's better just to let it go its own course instead of getting the government involved and then forcing people to do shit. You know, just let it take its natural course instead of creating all of these laws that oftentimes just help create monopolies. Like the carbon tax, for example, a lot of the major polluters are given exemptions. So what is that going to do? It's only going to hurt medium and smaller producers. So it's going to create a monopoly within the industry. And then all these businesses that are already massive are going to be happy. They're going to be fat and happy. They're going to have the entire market to themselves. And this is why a lot of these big corporations are not for capitalism. They're not for the free markets. You know, they're anti-capitalism. They want socialism. They want the government to come in and prevent their competitors from getting an edge on them by creating regulations, by creating environmental, by creating all these standards that now cost more money to start a business that business itself can easily pay for. So, you know, it's all rigged. It's all rigged. And they're all pretending like, oh, they're really doing this shit for you. But really, it's our governments are working for corporations. They're working in tangent with each other. They scratch their back. They scratch each other's back. You know, the dairy cartel gives money to these people, post ads in support of conservatives, and then the conservatives in return create a fucking monopoly for them in Canada, and forcing Canadians to all now spend more money to buy milk, poultry, and eggs. You know, they don't care about us. They're screwing us over any way they possibly can. So what are you guys saying in chat here? Those fucks in government can't even control their own urges. Yeah, exactly, you know. Trudeau brain stopped developing in his teens. Yeah, I think so too. Yep, gun. Fake it till you make it. Shout to be the motto of government. Yeah, that's true. Fake it till you make it. So you guys got any questions or anything? Or have you ever been to Toronto? No, I have not been to Toronto. I don't think I want to go to Toronto after the way it seems like it's turning into right now. You know, it doesn't seem like it might not be safe. I'm probably gonna get killed with a machete or something. And oh yeah, that machete guy, which I don't know if you guys seen that story I talked about in Toronto. They did find him, and it turns out he's a hairdresser. And the same guy who roundhouse kicked that girl at the abortion thing was also a hairdresser. So be careful of male hairdressers. You know, this is a warning. They're either going to hack you up with a machete or they're going to roundhouse kick you in the face. Stay in East End, Radisson. Oh, I won't. Everything else, addiction is correct. Yeah. Dan came out and said Trudeau needs a mental assessment. He does. You know, like people are always analyzing Trump. They should really be analyzing Trudeau in his mental state. But all these psychologists and stuff coming out and analyzing Trump, they're all quacks. Like this is against their oath of, I don't know, it's not a Hippocratic oath or something, but it's something to do with psychologists. They're not supposed to try to diagnose somebody without actually like being in contact with them. But they're doing this all the time to Trump. And they have lost, all the people doing this have lost their credibility in those fields to anybody who has two brain cells to rub together, right? Like if somebody actually cares about their job, it actually cares about being like a good psychologist or whatever, then they'll be like, they'll see those people and be like, wow, they're scum. You know, you should not be doing that. But when it comes to Trump, it's okay. You know, Trump is just so bad. You know, we can just, forego all of the normal things we do for everybody else and just go 100%, hardcore on Trump because he's an evil bigot that's going to kill everybody because he's pulling out of the Paris Climate Accord and he's going to get rid of Roe v. Wade. And all the women are going to have to use coat hangers to pull out their fucking abortions. You know, it's like, get the fuck out of here, you know. Trump may not be president. True. National Drifting Eyebrow Day. Yeah. What was with his eyebrow drifting like that? You know, like, I'm just trying to think, like, in contrast with Trump. If that happened to Trump, like, my God, the media would not fucking end. Fox did bring beer. Thinking about it. You know, well, I think that's probably about it for today. I need to make some food. Maybe I'll make another video today or something, or do another stream later. But thanks for stopping by, guys. Have a good one. See ya.